Hey, I'm your host, Melissa, and I want to welcome you to Not Your Average Blonde podcast. I'm here to show you how to elevate your life to become the best version of yourself. I want to take you along your journey to be anything but average and step into your confidence era. Join me each week by subscribing and listening to Not Your Average Blonde podcast, and let's begin our journey to become anything but average. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me this week for another episode of Blonde Boost. I'm recording this podcast right now from Las Vegas. I'm sitting here in this absolutely gorgeous room in my favorite resort overlooking the beautiful lights of the city. I'm so incredibly grateful to be here and just for the opportunities that I have. I've been to Vegas several times, and this is probably one of my favorite cities to visit in the US. The energy is so different here than anywhere else in America, at least. You meet some of the most interesting people from all over the world with such a wide variety of backgrounds, and they're pretty open by and large, sharing their dreams and their aspirations and their stories. And as we all know, everyone has a story, but I appreciate with how willing people are to share their stories and their lessons learned. It's also really neat to hear their aspirations and their differing levels of success and even some of their failures too, how they've bounced back, and then their stories of resilience. It's pretty amazing, and a lot of really cool conversations. I've at least have had a lot of really cool conversations in the city. So it's a pretty invigorating energy to be around, especially during the holiday season. But I'm coming up near the end of my trip, and I'll be honest, I'm absolutely exhausted. I haven't been going out very much, but I've been working a lot. So I'm literally sitting here curled up in my bed, recording this episode overlooking the strip and just resting. The end of the year work rush and with the holiday season preparation, it can be exhausting for all of us, which, leads me to what I want to talk to you about this week is self-care during the holiday season. So for those of you who are new, I want to quickly introduce myself. I am your host, Melissa, on Not Your Average Blonde podcast. And this is a part of the Blonde Boost series, bringing you your weekly dose of motivation, inspiration, and actionable tips to help you level up and become anything but average. So with that, I want to dive into a topic that gets pushed to the side this time of year. It's self-care. The holidays are such a whirlwind, and there's so much excitement, celebration, and connection, but there's also a lot of stress and expectations and exhaustion, that comes with that. The holidays are supposed to feel magical, but for many of us, it can feel pretty overwhelming and exhausting because you have the hustle of shopping, wrapping gifts, decorating, attending holiday parties, traveling, hosting dinner. You can just add on to that list. It just goes on and on and on. It's a beautiful time of year, don't get me wrong, but it's also exhausting. And somehow this time that's meant for joy and connection can leave us feeling pretty drained. So I want to change that narrative this year. Instead of just giving to everyone else, I want you to give something back to yourself. And that's the gift of rest. Because rest isn't lazy, and it's definitely not selfish. Rest is a necessity, especially during the busy holiday season, because you can't pour from an empty cup. So as we go into this week and next week, I want you to think about rest, not as an afterthought or as a luxury, but as an essential gift to yourself. Because when you give yourself rest, you're giving yourself the ability to fully experience the season and to truly enjoy the moments that matter most, and to be able to show up for the people you love in the best way possible. So in this episode, we're going to explore why rest is essential and how you can embrace it even in the middle of all this holiday chaos, and why prioritizing yourself is one of the most loving things you can do, not just for you, but for the people that you care about. So let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Why is rest so hard for us, especially during the holiday season? For a lot of us, it comes down to those deeply ingrained beliefs that our worth is tied to how much we do. We've been conditioned to think that being busy equals being productive, which isn't always the case. being valuable, and being enough as well. So like when we think about like slowing down or resting, it can feel wrong because it's if some reason we inherently believe it's tied to like our value. And it can feel lazy and it can feel indulgent and it can feel selfish. But there's the pressure of the holidays themselves as well too that like compounds onto this. So everywhere you look, there are messages telling you to do more, decorate the perfect tree, host the perfect dinner, find the perfect gifts, be the perfect partner, friend, parent. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that the holidays have to be this flawless, Pinterest-worthy experience. But here's the truth. None of that matters if you're too burned out to enjoy it. Like the people you love don't care if your tree isn't Instagram worthy or if you bought store-bought cookies instead of baking them from scratch. What they care about is you and your presence, your energy, and your joy. So let me ask you this. Like, what's the point of running yourself ragged if you're trying to meet impossible expectations, if it leaves you feeling stressed, disconnected, and exhausted? It's going to make you neurotic and resentful, and no one wants to be around that. So how is rest like essential for like joy and connection? Like I said, we've already talked about why rest feels hard. It's those deep rooted ingrained beliefs, but let's talk about why it absolutely is essential during the holiday season. Rest isn't just about like recharging your body. It's about recharging like your spirit and like your mind. When you're rested, you're going to be more present. You're going to be able to fully engage with people and the moments that make the holidays special. So think about it. When you're running on empty, how do you feel? You probably feel irritable, short-tempered, and unable to enjoy the things that like you've worked so hard to make happen. And that sucks. That sucks quite a bit because you're putting in all this work and all this effort and you're not able to really like to take a moment to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And that can be pretty rough. But on the other hand, when you're rested, you're more patient, you're more joyful, you're more able to appreciate those little things. Like the way your favorite holiday song, makes you feel, or like the warmth of like a loved one's hug. Rest is absolutely vital, like for your mental health. And the holidays can be an emotional time. For some, they bring up like feelings of loss or loneliness. And for others, they're simply overwhelming. But when you take the time to rest, you're giving yourself the space to be able to process those emotions, to care for yourself in a way that's deeply nurturing. And here's the kicker. Rest is also one of the most productive things you can do. Think about that. When you allow yourself to recharge, you come back stronger, more focused, and more capable. Your mind is so much sharper. Rest is not the opposite of productivity. It's a crucial part of productivity. So, all right, now let's get practical. How do we actually make rest a priority during the busiest time of the year? Well, I'm about to tell you. I'm going to share at least with you a couple of the tricks and tips that I used to build rest in my life, especially during chaotic periods or chaotic seasons. So the first one can be as simple as like scheduling rest into your calendar. I will actually do this. I will look at my calendar like a week ahead and I will block off time for myself. For me, that typically tends to be like on the weekends and or maybe like a day, like an evening, like during the week where I treat it like an appointment to me that like I cannot cancel. It's an obligation that's there and I will block out that time. Whether it's 15 minutes for me to like go out and go for a walk, or if I need more time, like an hour to read a book, or if I just want a whole evening of where I don't have any obligations and I can just rest to and watch like my favorite holiday movie, I'm going to put it on my schedule and by doing that and by honoring it, I'm honoring like myself and respecting myself. Another thing too is like I'll simplify my to-do list. So for the holidays, simplify your holiday to-do list. Do you really need to bake 5 different kinds of cookies? Like, come on. Is it necessary to wrap every gift with a bow and matching tag, to achieve that Pinterest worthy picture? No, it's not. That's all going to end up in the trash anyway. What I want you to do is I want you to identify what truly matters to you and let go of the rest. Remember, it's all about connection, not perfection. Which goes in the next piece of setting boundaries. If saying yes to every invitation and request is leaving you drained, it's time to start saying no. Boundaries are an act of self-care, and it protects your energy by prioritizing feelings aligned with your well-being. And they're so crucial. And next is learning how to embrace the micro moments of rest. I absolutely love this one. Don't underestimate the power of, a 5-10 minute like break. Step outside for fresh air, take a few deep breaths, or simply close your eyes and like enjoy a moment of silence. I personally love to take that time in the mornings with my cup of coffee, and I'll go sit out on my back porch or on my couch and just be present, just enjoy. Like I found that those small pauses can make some of the biggest differences like in my life and like my perspective and like my approach for the day. And those little periods of rest, they really do add up. And I had to learn that it's okay to like take that time. I had to learn how to practice like self-compassion with myself. If I started to feel guilty about like resting, I had to remind myself that taking care of me is not selfish. It's necessary. Like I can't show up for others if I'm not taking care of myself first. And it's the same for you. You can't show up for others if you're not taking care of yourself first as well. And one of the last items I have on my list that is like asking for help. You don't have to do it all. And trust me, like I'm very much queen at this of I can do it myself. And that's a habit that I've had to be very deliberate and conscientious about trying to break, and having that humility to ask for help. Let someone take on the responsibility. In this holiday season, ask someone to help you with, cooking a dish for dinner, or invite a friend over to come help out, like wrap a few gifts. Delegating like isn't a weakness, or sharing the responsibility isn't weakness. It's actually a strength. So here's the deeper truth about rest. It's not just going to be about like recharging your energy, but ultimately it's about honoring your worth. And when you choose to rest, you're telling yourself, I matter. My well-being matters. And this is an act of self-love, and it's one of the most powerful things that you can do, not just during the holidays, but you can implement these all year long. Rest also sets the example for the people around you. This is so big. People learn so much when they're around like good people, but by taking this opportunity to rest and setting that example, especially here in the US, like I don't know why we wear how tired we are as a badge of honor. Like I really envy actually the Spanish a bit, how they have like their siestas like in the afternoon. They literally build into like their culture and their time of day like a period of rest. But for you, if you take that time, you dedicate that period of rest, you're going to set that example for those around you. If you have kids, imagine the message that you're sending when you prioritize your well-being. You're teaching them that it's going to be okay to take care of themselves too, and that they don't have to run themselves into the ground to be worthy. So this holiday season, I challenge you to see rest as a gift, not just to yourself, but to everyone around you. Because when you're rested, you're able to show up as your best, most joyful, and most present self. And who doesn't want that? The holiday season is a fantastic time. So as we wrap up, like I want to leave you with this. The holidays are about connection. It's about finding that joy and, sharing that love. And that includes, connection, joy, and love that you show to yourself. So this year, I want to encourage you to embrace rest as an essential part of the holiday season and carry it on into the new year as well. Schedule it, protect it, but most importantly, enjoy it. You deserve to feel good, and you deserve to be cared for by others, yes, and also by yourself. So thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I really want to keep these episodes short and digestible. So if this episode like resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need this reminder. And don't forget to take a moment for yourself today as well too. Until next week, stay bold, stay brilliant, and I want you to stay above average. Have a very, very happy holidays, and hopefully you're able to experience rest.